Let's talk Georgia. I know that's why a lot of people are here today, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. Thought the biggest, quote, moment in this football game was when Jackson Dart went out, and then the backup Austin Simmons, the lefty, came in and proceeded to go 5 for 6 and lead a scoring drive. That was the biggest moment in this football game because standing on the sideline, Dart goes down, goes into the injury tents, limping, comes back out with essentially a cast on his foot. And you're like, all right, just threw an interception. Georgia's up 7-0. Bam. Austin Simmons walks in, cool as a cucumber, goes down, scores. Now, Jackson Dart comes back in, no more momentum. No more momentum in that moment. Now it's back-to-back. We're back square zero. All right, starter's back on the field. All right, and he's healthy, playing tough the rest of the game. Outside of that moment, this game was not about moments. This game was not about moments at all. This game boiled down to one thing, and if you follow me on Twitter, you already know what it is. Ole Miss whipped Georgia's ass up front for 4 quarters, particularly that defense. That defensive line. And I don't even know if I wouldn't give Ole Miss's offense like an A++ rating, but their tackles held up in pass pro. So that's all that they were asking them to do, and they did exactly that. But defensively, Ole Miss's defense for 4 quarters absolutely smacked them around. The second play of the football game, there's a sudden change. Ole Miss's defense is thrown out there, get a good substantive run on first down. The second down, Walter Nolan folds Jared Wilson up like a Walmart lawn chair, all right? I mean, just on his back, all right? And that was the setting tone for exactly what happened the rest of the 4 quarters. All right, the rest of the 4 quarters, Ole Miss's defense created nothing but havoc. And here's the deal. All of these havoc-creating plays, they were all on tape, all right? We talked about it in the What to Expect episode on Patreon on Thursday. They are a stunt-based defense. They get after it with stunts. So you're going to have to prepare for stunts. All right, so let's talk about, I know y'all have seen the clips on social media of Georgia offensive linemen not touching a soul, 3 or 4 defensive linemen from Ole Miss in the backfield. What the hell happened? We're obviously going to break it down with film this week, but I want to go to the board and actually talk about this. All right, so no producers in here today. Hopefully I'm not out here giving you the feet for free. All right, but it does look like everything's working over there. Hi, Mom. All right, hopefully you can hear me over here as well. I didn't turn the lights on. We'll have to get to that later. All right, so Georgia is a zone football team. Inside zone, they run a little bit of counter as well. When Broderick Jones was their tackle, they ran a whole hell of a lot more counter, but, you don't do that as much anymore. Still in the playbook, though. They've become an end-around football team as well over the years since, I would say, about 2020. A lot of sweeps, right? The Dylan Bell play from this weekend. No jet sweeps this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. But their base package, right? Day one install, as we call it around here, is what we call inside zone or duo, okay? Duo is a style of inside zone. So on inside zone, we are up and over. All right, we're on a 45-degree angle all across the board. We're trying to prioritize combination blocks. All right, so on this particular play, this is the one that went viral today, or this weekend rather, they stunted, okay? They sent the 3-tech into that gap, the 2-eye into that gap. They wrapped the Mike, they wrapped the Will. All right, so you can imagine how when we're on our tracks right here as an offensive line, this could get really, really hairy because the picture looks totally different, right? We think we think we have combinations going to places we ultimately don't. All right, so let me redraw this from the start. All right, so when they walked to the line of scrimmage, it looked to me when I saw it on tape that they had some solos out here, right? But everybody is stepping, Mike Will, or Mike the Mike. All right, everybody's stepping to their inside gap. All right, when I go to step to this gap and this 3 technique works over, the next thing I have to do with my right foot is make sure I get back vertical through his chest, all right, and deliver him back to my center. I know I got a lot of lines going over here. All right, deliver him back to my center. The problem with what happened Saturday with Georgia is these guys would get on different levels. They'd be rushing to the second level of the defense, and then all of a sudden this guy splits, and you got one guard looking back like, shit, I thought the center was going to get him. And then the center looking up to the mic thinking, well, the 3 technique pre-snap was standing right in front of his face. So all these SEC teams have really struggled with this against Ole Miss. And what you saw in our What to Expect episode was teams actually starting to move to wide zone, all right, start to really take bucket steps and really reach these guys. Get this way when we go to run wide zone, all right, and take this arc and try to get vertical when we see a crease. The reason being, when I'm taking bucket steps and really getting deep into the hole, I've got an opportunity to read and react what's in front of my face, right? Instead of taking steps like this on an inside zone track, now I have the opportunity to really get deep, take time, and see and observe what's happening in front of my face, all right? Georgia's inside zone game, or inside zone run game in this football game was atrocious because of all of the stunting that was going on from Ole Miss. Now, the first question you will have as an audience member is, how do you counteract this stuff, right? How do you get out of this and avoid all of these stunts happening to you? The first thing I would have done immediately was install wide zone this week. I would have watched it on tape and be like, well, we need some type of wide zone concept here in case, right? We're going to train up the hell out of these combinations. All week long during individual period, we're going to send the scout team down there during individual period with the offensive line, and we're going to work on these stunts. We're going to have 3 techniques, crossing guards' face. We're going to have centers working over there and saying, oh, here he comes, boom. And we're going to work on all these combinations, picking up all these stunts. Here's the deal. I guarantee they told them, or I guarantee they prepared them. This is a Kirby Smart-led football team. I highly doubt they weren't prepared for this. Okay, because we all saw it. Everybody knew, even coming into the football, or even after the football game, Kirby Smart said, we knew they were a stunting football team. We knew coming into this game, running the ball in between the tackles was going to be really hard. If you want to run at these guys, you have to run around them. And you eventually saw Georgia get into those types of plays, right? Get into end around. I think it took about 2 series before they started throwing counter at them, started throwing some different truck toss at them, right? Trying to get outside, trying to do things like that. But no, those are the things that I would have done going into the week, right? I would have leaned heavily on counter, would have leaned heavily on truck, would have leaned heavily on sweeps. They eventually got to those things, but it was going to be really, really hard to run anything inside zone or duo based in this football game. And here's the bottom line, right? Your run game wasn't only a problem Saturday. It ultimately, it wasn't only stagnant. It also ultimately became a problem for you offensively because a lot of 1st and 10s immediately hopped into 2nd and 12s because you had negative plays. And then at that point, man, defensive ends like Prince Umar-Milan and Sunterian Perkins, they're pinning their ears back. By the way, I thought the Jaden Ivey guy had a tremendous football game as well, 15. They start pinning their ears back and start getting after you. And they're at home, so the get-off's going to be insane. They're going to be moving before your tackles do because they're moving off of they're moving off of sight, not cadence, right? They're on the road. So I knew at some point in this football game that coaching staff from Georgia was seeing exactly what I was. And here's how you, as an audience member at home, can start to tell that your coordinator knows, oh shit, we can't block these guys. All right. Obviously, everyone picked up on the quick screens. All right. We're starting to throw the ball out immediately, like really, really trying to get the ball out of the box and trying to create some type of substantive quick game, right? To get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. A, because we can't block them. B, we can't run at them right now. All right. The other thing that you notice teams starting to do on this channel since we've been teaching this stuff is that once they start to play action roll the quarterback, just to develop any type of intermediate or deep passing game, that's them telling you right there, we can't traditional drop back pass these guys. We are not going to be able to say downset hut and take a 3-step drop and read the field and hope we got a clean pocket. There are no clean pockets today. So I knew very, very early on, probably like midway through the second quarter, the play calling adapted to the idea that you have no chance of blocking these guys today. And that was the ultimate deciding factor. So, I mean, by the way, this has been something that we've been talking about on this network we haven't been harping on it, but we've been pointing at it. It's like, hey man, like pressures are up, sacks are up, explosive run games down, yards per carries down, despite the fact that the running back room, I would argue with Trevor Etienne's been better this year than it has been over the last couple of years. So like, what's going on? Like, what's going on with the offensive line play? First and foremost, you are banged up, right? Tate Ratledge is playing on one leg in that football game, guys. If you watch the tape, it's incredible how tough he's playing. Michael Morris is completely unavailable in that football game. You're rotating Drew Bobo in at guard at some points in that football game, so you're obviously banged up. But when I look at the roster, all right, and I look at the offensive line room, it's glaringly obvious what has happened. It's glaringly obvious what has happened to me. You have very little to no juniors and sophomores on this roster that are making any type of immediate impact. And when you look at the 2022 and 2023 signing classes, which is about 18 months of Matt Luke and about 6 months of pure recovery, hurricane relief type of recruiting from Stacy Searles to even pull off what he did at the end of 23, it's no secret what's happening, right? It's no secret why your offensive line is what it is right now. It's dependent upon older guys who didn't get drafted, all right, then have come back, and some of which are banged up, right? Some of which are banged up right now. It's older guys, and then a huge waste gap between them and the 2024 class that just got on campus that are too young to really play right now. If you look at the 2022 signing class, here it is. Ernest Green, a 4-star, he obviously starts. Aluba, a 3-star, transferred to Maryland. Jacob Hood, a 3-star, transferred to, I can't quite remember where. I think Syracuse. No, Jacob Hood was Nebraska, and then Nebraska has never played him. Drew Bobo, obviously a contributor player on your roster right now. Griffin Scroggs, a 3-star, transferred to App State. I'm pretty sure he plays on the field goal unit right now. 2023 signing class. So you signed 4 guys in 2022, one of which plays. Drew is a spot starter and a spot contributor. 2023, you signed Monroe Freeling, a 4-star, borderline 5-star, depending on which recruiting service you watch or pay attention to. He's a starter. You hit. Bo Hewley, a 4-star, has not played. Kelton Smith, a 4-star, has retired from football due to medical concerns. Jamal Merriweather, a 3-star out of Brunswick, has not played. Josh Miller, a 3-star, has transferred to Syracuse. So, in 2 full recruiting classes, the University of Georgia signed 9 football players, all right, on the offensive line, a position in which, since I have covered them, they have averaged 1 first-round draft pick per year. That's what they have averaged. In 2 recruiting classes, they signed 9 players, 3 of which even make meaningful, playing time on their roster at this point in time. 2 of which are starters. 1 is a backup. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your other roster signings look like. You play in the Southeastern Conference. You play a pro-style offense. You can't do that. You can't go 2022, 2023 and not sign a super impactful, where's Monroe Freeling? Is that's the potential first rounder in that group? Maybe. We'll see. Those are uncharacteristic, Georgia misses in terms of recruiting. And it's simple. It's very obvious. They took 18 months of recruiting in 2022 and 2023 and basically, kicked their feet up. And you know how, it's Matt Luke retired right after that. Took a year off from football and is now turning around Clemson's room, and everybody loves him up at Clemson. But you're seeing results on Saturday. If you're wondering, man, 71's playing bad, why can't they replace him? With who? With who? They don't have anybody. They took 2 years off and don't have meaningful players. And Bo Hewley's got to put on weight. They like Bo Hewley a lot. They think he's going to be good. But he's been 15 pounds, 20 pounds underweight for 2 years now. So who's it on? What's that on? I know when I post that on Twitter, everybody's like, oh, Stacy Searles sucks. Y'all waiting for a 5-star dining experience from a chef who's got 3-star ingredients. I don't know why y'all expect Mans to be out here performing miracles. All right, I don't understand that at all. By the way, he is performing miracles on the recruiting trail. In 2024, his first full class, he signed 5 of the top 32 players in the country on the offensive line. It's fine. It's going to be okay. That's the good news. If you're listening to this today and you're like, damn, what happened? The good news is reinforcements are coming. The bad news is they ain't on the roster right now. They might be, but they're true freshmen. And you know how they feel about playing true freshmen. So it doesn't help that you're pretty banged up as well. Yes, Saturday, you had drops. Carson messed up of several things that are uncharacteristic. You had illegal formations on Saturday. You had illegal motion. You had stuff that your quarterback, beside the misses, all right, beside the drops, you had stuff that your quarterback's not supposed to miss. But the bottom line in that football game is you could not block them for 4 quarters. And you can't go win a football game if you can't block somebody. So, yeah, it ain't got to get all complex with the analysis. That's what it is. You couldn't block them. Defensively, if you are going on social, in my opinion, this is me. This is my opinion. This is not them. This is not anybody else. This is me. If you go on to Twitter after holding that offense to 22 points on the road and you want to bitch about the defense, buddy, you're just shouting at the clouds. You're just out here yelling to yell. Oh, they gave up a bunch of stuff over the middle. Yeah, and then held them to field goals. Like, what are y'all out here complaining about? They held one of the best offenses in college football to 22 points on the road. And yeah, you're going to look at it and say, what about them 6 points at the end? You mean when you're going for it on 4th down inside their own 25? And when you turn it over, it's automatic field goal range? Is that what you're talking about? 22 points. That's what that defense held to, despite all of the stuff going on in that football. I thought they played well. I thought the game plan worked. Survive, tackle them, get them down, hope to get them off the field in a field goal. Maybe we'll turn them over. Maybe they'll have a negative play. Maybe we'll get a sack. I don't know what y'all complaining about with that one. The analysis is simple. Umar Milan, unblockable on 3rd down. Walter Nolan, unblockable on 1st and 2nd down. Probably should have installed wide zone this week. But guess what? Since I've covered you since 2019, ain't never seen you run it. Ain't never seen you run it. You've ran some pin and pull. You've ran some truck sweep. But in terms of getting into a regular formation with the back on the right of the quarterback, everybody taking bucket steps, getting wide, trying to reach the guy in front of them, getting flat before we get vertical, that's not what y'all do. That's not who you are. So I'm asking you to do something that you don't do? No, that's stupid on me. So, yeah, I could be critical as to why the run game didn't work. You shouldn't be running inside zone against Walter Nolan, Princely Umar Milan, Suntarian Perkins, and that bunch when they stunt that much and they create that many TFLs against everybody, not just you. Maybe you shouldn't have. Maybe you should have gotten to that other stuff earlier. Maybe you should block them. Those would be my suggestions. Wide zone concepts, live off counter if you can. It's the other thing, like, I've been preaching, be a counter team, be a counter team, be a counter team. But you don't have, like, you got 167, 335-pound should-be guard in Xavier Truss surviving a tackle, trying to survive, and doing a pretty damn good job at fighting for his life out there. Monroe's really, really good but young. And then there's Ernest on the other side, who everyone knows on Sundays, if he plays on Sundays, will be a guard, and he's having to live right now at tackle. You're not a counter team, even though you should be, especially in a football game like that. But you don't have the personnel to be what you were. All right. So, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of that going on around the entire roster. Yeah, I mean, you had a few drops, but it is what it is. I also think, I'm going to be honest with you, I also think it's a little bit absurd to be calling for jobs. You lost 2 football games this year in one of the hardest schedules, maybe the hardest schedule that Georgia's ever had in the history of college football in terms of their program. It's the hardest schedule Georgia's ever had. And the amount of road games that were hard. I mean, the schedule alone, if all of them were at home, would be tough. And some of these road games this year, all 3 of them being the way that they were, tough. And the worst thing that could happen, you got Neyland on the road too. Like, I don't know why. I'm surprised SC didn't do that, right? Seemed like that. But going into it, it's going to be tough. And now y'all lose 2 football games, and I've heard everything from fire Kirby to fire Glenn. We all know y'all want to fire Bobo, which that's well documented. Fire the quarterback, fire Coley, fire Searles. Everybody wants to get fired. And I almost circled those 2 because I know they're getting really, really heated up right now. Everybody wants to go attack James Coley. Everybody's like, man, James Coley sucks. Kirby's out here just hiring his buddies. Why is James Coley out here? Y'all do realize James Coley just got there? Y'all want to complain you ain't got dudes in the room, and you want to fire the dude that's about to sign the biggest tandem of wide receiver recruits you've had in, I don't know, shit, a decade? Y'all want to fire James Coley for your wide receiver room not being talented enough that some bitch just got there in January. And he's about to sign C.J. Wiley and Taylor. And by the way, have you seen what Landon Rowland's doing? And by the way, Thomas Blackshear. He's about to sign the best wide receiver class you've signed in 10 years. And you want to fire the guy. Why? Because Dylan Bell can't catch a slant? Goofy. Absolutely goofy. He's here to get better players into the room. He's getting better players into the room. You want to fire the guy because dudes want to drop footballs. By the way, been around a lot of football practices in my life. You know what we don't coach? We ain't out here coaching you how to catch the football. That should be predetermined. You're a wide receiver, catch the ball. If you're not good at catching the ball, get better at catching the ball on your own time. Today, we got to worry about how we're running this type of post route against this coverage because they play it differently than the last opponent. Talk about y'all want to fire Stacey Searles. We already kind of addressed this one. Y'all want to fire Stacey Searles. Why? Because the offensive line's playing bad. I just told you, the previous coach took 18 months off recruiting. He coached really, really well while he was there. He had great football players that Sam Pittman signed, and he did a great job. Got 2 national titles off of it, coached his ass off. Damn sure didn't recruit. 2022 says that. 2023 said that before Stacey Searles got there in February and spent 8 months trying to recover. And guess what? 2024, great football players coming in. They're already there. They like their class. They think everyone in the building thinks Stacey Searles is a tremendous football coach, that everything is going to be okay, that right now you're patchworking stuff. And I know y'all want to think that's excuses.